children now.
Welcome to another episode of Classics of Cinematics. Today we're diving headfirst into the twisted and nightmarish world of Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Directed by Jack Shoulder, this sequel has Freddy Krueger return and attempt to use an unsuspecting teenager as his host so he can continue his reign of terror on the town's children. The film stars Robert Englund, Mark Patton, Kim Myers, and Clu Gallagher. Join Monk and myself, Bobby Blockbuster, as we take a look at this sequel that made New Line Cinema into the house that Freddy built. Make sure you subscribe and like and turn on the notifications.
Hey folks, man, this is Monk and we are back with another episode of Classics of Cinematics. And I'm joined with my co-host, we got Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo, yo, yo!
Yeah, so this is the finale on our Halloween month of coverage, man. And so we got 5 Tuesdays in October. So this is kind of a bonus for you guys, man. So we're going to be looking at the classic Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, man. And this film is significant in a lot of ways. It's the sequel of a franchise in the making, because the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it was only planned to be in one film. Wes Craven didn't even want to come back to do this one. So it's interesting that this would be, a follow-up to the hit that Nightmare on Elm Street was. Yes. And this allowed New Line Cinema to establish itself as an independent studio. And this would be the franchise that built New Line Cinema. Is often known as the house that Freddy built. You know, shout out to Maria who joined us on that first episode and let us, know that information. So crazy film.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is far from the best installment of the Freddy franchise, but it's significant. Like you said, the first one, it was groundbreaking. It was it's a horror masterpiece. The third one, we get into, the deep dive into the special effects and the creativity and all that stuff. But this one, it stands out to me because of the concept, the inventiveness in the story. You know what I'm saying? To take Freddy and kind of spin him off as an entity, almost making him like a poltergeist, like with the focal point being the house, and him, the house is the vortex, and he is looking for a vehicle to kind of do his bidding, and that's where we get this character Jesse, and I think that really works well. And for me personally, this was my first Freddy experience. I saw this one before I saw the first one, and it kind of just opened the door for me for this franchise, and just like I said, the way that this one was delivered by making him like this demonic presence, not this killer of kids in the dream world. Just it just really set a different tone for me, you know what I'm saying, for me to dive into this whole franchise and really just enjoy all of the different avenues that they took, with each film.
It's interesting because, it's wild, man. Shout out to HBO back in the day, man, because it was the only cable channel around. I had my network stuff, and then we had some weird box on top of the TV. And we had HBO for some reason, man. I don't know. In hindsight, it might have been included just where we lived in that building, man. I was up in them Belfort Towers, man. If you know. But we had HBO, man. And the first Freddy I saw in there, and then this one come out, and I saw that on here at the same time. And it was interesting just seeing the idea that we could get a part 2. And this might have been one of the first sequels I saw, other than maybe something Star Wars or something, Right. So 85. Maybe let's just say 86 it comes to HBO, or 87, and I'm young, bro. I'm still like maybe 8 or 9 years old watching this.
Dude, yes.
But for some reason, this wasn't as scary to me as Freddy 1. So maybe I'm starting to build up that callous and that tolerance for horror, even though I'm still hitting the light switch, jumping in the bed.
Yeah.
But I will say this, man, it is cool that I think that because this was an unplanned sequel, and the nature of this franchise, and also I think you're building lore.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing about this this film. We get the bigger lore, we get a little bit more background on Fred Krueger's character, because the connection is that this new guy, Jesse, has moved into the house that Nancy lived in from the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's interesting because I think it's funny because the dad was just trying to save a buck, and the dad had even heard about the messed up stuff that might have happened in this house. And he's still like, "Hey, it's kind of cheap."
And I thought like
kind of crazy.
I thought that was really cool. Like when it comes to sequels, like you said, this one was an unplanned sequel, but the fact that they didn't focus on the sole survivor, which was Nancy, they focused more on the house and the entity in the house, which would be Freddy. So it kind of just it brings a level of versatility to the character, you know what I'm saying? And it opens up a new dimension, to show that, this guy in this one, he doesn't just get you in your dreams. As a matter of fact, he doesn't get you in your dreams at all. He gets you in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he uses Jesse as a vessel to do his bidding. And I mean, as far as when it comes to like the terror scale, watching this one now, it's not as scary as when I was little, but dude, it comes out the gate hot. When you soon this jump start, you see the bus turn in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was still catching a school bus as a child. This one changed my view. I was catching the school bus for like 2 months. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because and I thought it was cool that they had Robert Englund
every morning wondering if,
like, yo,
the bus driver
are we downshifting riding through the desert now this time? Come on, coach.
I will give it that. This probably has my favorite opening sequence of the whole franchise.
Yes.
The school bus thing is just amazing. It on a lot of ways, the makeup, the setup of it, the design of it, the miniatures.
Cool. They had Robert Englund not in makeup, just as his regular self, being the bus driver. But then,
it was funny. I didn't notice that as a kid, but rewatching it now, immediately I'm like, That's Robert Englund. No makeup, driving the bus.
And then I like how they put the those from the 80s, the body glove stickers. There was like a surf company or something. But that insinuates the Freddy Krueger hand. It just, all these little things. And then, like I said, when the bus picks up the kids, dropping them off, and then you get down to the last three students and that motherfucker just downshifts. Ooh. And she's like, "Hey, you missed my stop." And he's like, "Yeah, ha, 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 ha." And then they just drive off into this desolate, desert area. They got that in Ohio?
Yeah, that's wild. That's
what they do. What they doing in Ohio?
Where did they film? They had to film this in Cali because that's the only way that looks like. It looks like a suburb of Cali. They probably filmed.
Yes.
But I don't know. But at least where that bus drove into definitely was desert.
Dude.
Kind of desert.
And then they got the bus looking like a vehicle from Twisted Metal or something. It's just bouncing around. And the next thing you know, all the damn ground starts falling, and it's teeter-tottering on this thing of rocks. And then if that's not scary enough as is, then the bus driver turns around and he's Freddy. I'm gonna get you guys. It's like, dude, what better way to start a film, a horror film? You with the credits still rolling, you got your pulse pounding, your adrenaline up. You're like, oh, what's gonna happen next?
I feel like they knew what we was here for.
Yes.
I think that it was great to do that way. But essentially that's it, man. Because Jesse and his family are in this house, that allows Freddy to get a way to kind of claw his way back into where he was in the first film, his power manifesting and him taking out kids. But he's trying to use Jesse to do this. So one thing that really stands out rewatching this though is the in the story wise, it's the lack of Freddy.
Yes.
This story feels like you were talking earlier, more like Amityville Horror. It's a more of a poltergeist possession film. Whereas in the previous film and in later films, anytime our main character is getting fucked with, is definitely Freddy.
It's definitely
Freddy. This one,
yes.
There's a lot of supernatural. That could be anything at first, like the thing that happens with the bird. The first encounter when he sees the figure out of his window and things like that, or when he wakes up in the room and it's hot and everything's melting, and I'm like.
I did love that effect though.
It did look cool, but there's a lot of scenes like that we don't have no Freddy. The classroom.
It's insinuated.
When he wakes up with the snake on his,
and then you find out it's just the friend messing with him. Yes, it's very insinuative. It's almost like watching the Bulls when Jordan played baseball for a little bit. Like Freddy was not on the forefront, which was kind of like, it was strange, but that also just it magnified his presence for when he was on the screen. It made him that much more like chest out,
bro. This film is how many minutes you think Freddy's on screen? This film is
this is
a buck, 87 minutes.
It's a buck 27. Freddy probably gets maybe 13 minutes of screen time.
I don't even think it's that long, dude. If you count where he's actually there, I don't think it's that long.
But but one thing that I will give them when it comes to this story and the way it's presented. Freddy's more talkative in this. He actually, you can tell that he's driving the car. He's the one that's switching gears. He's pushing the pedal, and he don't have a brake in his car. And that's the thing, like, because as Jesse is cruising through, I mean, like this guy, I mean, he's new kid, new home. Somehow, though, even though he's all wet behind the ears, he managed to find a chick
that's new. He's new, but
that comes to his house in the morning and then gives a ride.
I feel like he's a few weeks new, maybe. And maybe he showed up at the beginning of the school year, so maybe that's how he met this girl and established. He's been there at least a month, maybe 2 months. Because he's a lot of stuff is established, but he's still new. No one really knows him that well. Even his one friend is kind of still filling him out. It doesn't really know him.
It doesn't really. But the one thing, and like I said, set designs. It's important because one way that they do establish this new factor is his unpacked room.
Yeah,
the dad is like, yo, you need to unpack. The rest of the house looks like they've been living there for 4 years.
My thing is though, like, why I gotta unpack it? I'm gonna get to it when I get to it. If I ain't using
but he does have the coolest unpacking scene ever.
I got stuff in here. I still in boxes that I've been in here about 6-7 years.
And as we watch him like navigate through this, you get this. He's prime picking. For them to take this story arc with the possession element and everything, he's prime for the picking. Because
but he's in the house too, though. He's right in the house. He's in the house
new,
of the
no
the
friends.
victims.
But ultimately, he's weak, and they establish the fact that he is super weak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's
vulnerable,
susceptible to demonic possession from what we've seen in other demonic possession films. So I feel like they took that format, that formula, and they executed.
But I also feel like him being in the very house that Freddy's main victim that he still wants, like, as we'll get later in the series, like I think that also makes him super vulnerable. Him being in the actual house, what I'm saying? It's great. I think that's the source. That's kind of where Freddy is still clinging on to, like, the little bit of drip of blood that's keeping him still on the around. Like, it's not fully formed, but it's enough to keep him still existing in some kind of way.
And that's what we were saying earlier. The house is the vortex. That is what's helping him. That's his portal from the boiler room demon world that he lives in into the real world. The only thing that really stands out to me, like I said, in this story is that he doesn't attack the dreams. He's not attacking people in their dreams. When the only person that sees him in a dream state is Jesse. You know what I mean? And he's doing this just almost as an outlet to say, hey, I want to possess you and I want you to do my dirty work.
He says it. That's one of my favorite moments when he first sees Freddy in Freddy's form and he says, "You've got the body,
I got the
and I've got the brain," which leads to the best scream in this entire.
Oh my gosh, my man!
I didn't pick up on it in the '80s when I first saw this, but typically a film like this, and you think about the following films, you think about Jason, and you think about most of these slasher characters. The main protagonist is usually a woman, or a young woman, and this guy, and now in this film, it's a guy, and I don't think we really come back around to where a guy is Freddy's main target. Even in Dream Masters, it's a group, but it's still a mixed group. But then in the other films, the main character turns back to a woman, and this was the first time we got a male lead, and I don't think
the first and only time.
I don't even think Jason has a male target in this series.
No.
So essentially, it's kind of interesting to watch him go through some of the motions that a woman character would go through.
But then,
even the screaming and like
yes.
that when he shows his brain to Cuz, and like my man is like, this is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. In the scream, he lets out his blood curdling, and it's hilarious.
It's great.
But I felt him. I was like, hey man, I understand, bro.
We were talking about it earlier. Cole was like, man, I might have screamed like that. I was like, shit, I'd have passed out.
Somebody just a bull, burnt up dude that ain't even supposed to be there, and he just shows you his brain.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey.
I'd have fainted, dog. I'd have had a heart attack or fainted,
you got
dog.
the body, and I've got the brains.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing, too, because I'm glad that you touched on that, because this is the only male lead protagonist in this whole franchise. But, you know, and he embodies the feminine characters that we will see in other films in this series. But I like the strength that's provided by Lisa, the girlfriend. Young Meryl Streep. She fucking...
I mean, you think this film is doing a great job of flipping the roles, because in another version of Freddy, she's the boyfriend.
She's the boyfriend. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, even when you look, like, as we maneuver through, I mean, she's supportive. She's being the supportive girlfriend.
Street.
You know, and you know, and she's helping him navigate through, and always like, he's like, I'm going crazy, and she's like, no, you're not. Let's find a way to work this out. I mean, she even gives him like the prince, the Disney prince kiss at the end, and helps him break out of Freddy's mold. And she's like, oh, you know, I gave you the kiss that saved your life, and he's all like breaking Freddy's face off his, and he's like, oh, hold me, you know, like, I mean, she definitely like, she embodied the male character. But I mean, you know, the thing about this story is it's very easy to navigate through. It's simple as they come, but it's effective because of the characters that we get. You know what I'm saying? Like this character that we get in Jesse. I mean, he really he's at the forefront. You know, like, he's more important to this film than Freddy is. For this to be a Nightmare on Elm Street film, Freddy is the assist man to what Jesse brings to this story. You know what I mean? And it really works because, you know, of the way that he presents himself on screen. Like this, like I say, he's you know, he is a dude, but he's very feminine in a lot of ways. And I think that you know, that kind of like, it just really carries into the way that the stories in all of the films are presented.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's the role reversal, man. Like I said, he's doing the things that normally would have happened to the to the woman character. You know what I'm saying, in the franchise. You know,
and this is not a jab. This is not a bad thing. It really works. It really works for the film. But you know,
but I think that's a risk, because
it is
traditionally, you know, women just seem more vulnerable in this kind of stuff, and like it's straight. I don't think I could find many examples, like even with modern films coming out, where it is a guy that's going through this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like even now, like I just seen a movie recently that's, you know, kind of has some really cool newer ideas, but it's still, you know, a woman, like that's the target, like so it's interesting, man.
And the thing is,
they definitely took a risk with that, man.
What I noticed too is that even when we do get the female lead in these kind of situations, at the beginning, the early stages of the film, the early development of the story, they might present themselves as kind of weak, and then they find strength throughout the course of the film, and then they kind of, you know, at the end, they're like, man, they're going up against whoever, and, you know, toe to toe, and he never found that strength. He was just weak throughout, from beginning to
definitely
end.
held him down. If Lisa wasn't there, man, he would have been.
Oh, if Lisa weren't there, like, I mean, if all he had to do was depend on,
you know what it is though,
Brady?
too. I kind of feel like, in a way, Freddy kind of gets himself taken out in this a little bit too. He kind of helps them beat him a little bit just by the way he's doing this stuff. Because like when that party scene is great. I love that when he comes to the party, and it's a great intro for him. Yeah, the pool party at the end of the movie. It's a great intro for him, and it's him actually jumping out there and like he's been messing with what's the name, Jesse a little bit, and he's got his strength has grown a little bit, but I think it was premature to jump out like that for him. But he's feeling himself.
Well, this is when he sheds Jesse's skin like a snake.
I love when he comes in, man. He jumps out. They do this thing where he jumps out of the ground and it's just a craziest intro, man. And there's a shot. This is the shot of the movie, in my opinion, where he's standing in front of this tiki torches. Yeah, at the party, and then he starts waving his arms, and everyone can see him. I don't know how everybody fell asleep, but this is probably the effect of Jesse helping him get into the real physical world.
That's the thing, bro. I'm so glad that you said that, because that's what really made this one go against the grain. Because he doesn't attack in the dream world. He manifested himself in the real world. As a matter of fact, he catches 10 bodies in this film, and all of them are done in real life, real time. Nobody's sleeping, which that just kind of completely bucked the system from the lore, from what we got in the first one, and then what continues on in the third and until the end of the series.
And I think because he made such a big move there, it just left them vulnerable for Lisa and Jesse to mount a counterattack, you know? But dude, that was the baddest scene when he's standing in front of that flame and he tells him, "You are all my children," and I'm like, yo, this is great. But then it leads me to now, as I'm thinking about, is that a plot hole? Because
it is.
Because
major plot hole.
He kills like mad people, but it seems like 8. There seems like there's no talk about that in the final shot when they're on a bus.
Everyone's back to like, hey, we made it through. It's like, I mean, the dad of Lisa's dad, he tried to shoot him with the shotgun.
He basically was a mass shooter. He said he just had his knives right there.
And he killed all these kids, and everyone's just, and that's the other thing too. I was telling you, I mean, I was just joking around about it, but why Jesse keep catching the bus if he got a car?
Yeah, so that's
more in the beginning,
it's more indicates more dreaming.
More dreaming.
Yeah, the way it ends, because
like that would be indication number one to me. Like, why I'm on the bus if I got a car?
Because at the end of the movie, him and Lisa are on the bus and they're kind of celebrating. Like,
and then the chick gets the thing that comes out.
Glad that's over, and then boom, I'm like, yo, is this another dream?
And then they drive back off in that Ohio desert, you know.
Maybe they didn't expect to be a part 3. It's like, I mean, but it's like part 1 didn't expect to be a part 2.
Like the first one and this one is like they leave you these cliffhanger endings as if they want to make a sequel, but then they make the sequels not cohesive with the ending.
But you're not establishing rules and sticking to them. You're like you said, like you're making just say you're making it in a way where maybe they didn't even expect the part 3 to happen. Like this wasn't planned to be franchised until that box office receipts came back. Yes. And then they saw the potential.
But like you said, I mean, when it comes to the characters and the development of them, I mean, Jesse, at the forefront. We had Lisa. I really like Clu Gallagher, man. That's the dad, and that's Bert from Return of the Living Dead. So it's kind of like, and he's the same guy. Like it's almost like we get to see Bert when he's not at work fighting off zombies. We get to see him in his home life, because I mean, dude. He's just trying so hard to be this like this grade A dad, but he just can't get right. You know what I'm saying? And he can't fix a house to save his life either.
I don't know if he cares enough to get right, because it's like he always has an excuse. It's hot in here, Dad. Oh, the AC's working.
It just needs Freon. You know, and that's the thing too. Like the house is whooping his ass this whole movie, dog.
Freddie might have got to him a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, the house kicked his ass, dude. Every time it shows him trying to fix something, he's banging his head. He's getting burnt by the toaster. He's falling off the ladder. He thinks Jesse on drugs. You know, I mean, there's all this stuff.
Like, I think there's some characters in here that Freddy has all peeled away at and started chipping away, including the coach. Man, the coach seems a little another
He's
way
a grade A douche
where Freddy's getting in. Yeah, and that's funny because. Not like it's interesting, man. Like, I would recommend this documentary. There's a 4-hour documentary. What's that called?
Never Sleep Again.
Never Sleep Again on Tubi.
Yes.
But then there's also a companion documentary specifically about Mark Patton and the making of this film called Scream Queen, and it goes into some of the I guess, because of the director, he's gay. Also, Mark Patton was gay, and it's interestingly
this was like his coming out party.
Yeah, he kind of came out after this film came out, and then this is the time. This is 85, man. The world wasn't like it is now.
Right.
So that was a major thing. And like, it was a thing where tabloids were exposing celebrities, and that could be the end of your career. And I think that's what happened with Patton. He ended up, running away to Mexico. But there's some things that pop up in this film on the sub level that I didn't notice as a kid because I just wasn't as knowledgeable about things, but seeing it now, and knowing what I know about the creating of it from seeing these documentaries, there's things that stand out, including the coach is crazy because they even introduce him to the other his friend. Says, yeah, that guy's, he visits these queer S&M lounges, and then there's a scene where Jesse ends up in like a gay bar, and things happen.
The coach was there,
and the coach was there, and then later on,
that's the weirdest scene in this film.
And later on, when the coach is actually assaulted by Freddy, which makes me think, like I said, I think Freddy has also infiltrated some of these characters, especially some of the adults. And I would include the dad in that. I think the dad is being fucked with by Freddy in a way where he is nonchalant about what's happening. Even the coach, and I think the coach is doing things to help break Jesse down so Freddy can be more easier for Freddy to get to him.
And that's one thing too, because what we see in all these Freddy movies is that the parents are just naive as fuck. This in this one, the parents were a little more active, a little more involved, seemed to care.
Well, the mom was, but the pops was like.
But ultimately, I mean, it really
deal on this house.
One thing that they put at the forefront is that this is like they think it's like adolescent issues, like
it's growing pains.
Yeah, growing pains, yes, and you'll figure it out. I mean, something is wrong when you're waking up screaming at the top of your lungs.
You want to get mad at parents? Watch these Freddy series, bro.
Yes,
it's not the only film where this comes up, and
No, it's like you think this is growing pains, but I mean, when are you going to be held accountable for just being dumb? Like, I mean, and unaware of what's going on, like with your children.
He must have just hit some bad reefer.
Yeah, it's like, what? No.
The funny part to me is when the opening of the movie, he wakes up after the bus scene, and the sister's like, why doesn't he wake up like everybody else?
Everyone else. Yes.
He's all right.
He's good. I mean, he just screamed at the top of his lungs. I mean,
but it also lets you know this is like a regular occurrence. Like,
yes,
this ain't right.
But then that's the thing too. When it comes to these characters, like they are significant, but they are all severely underdeveloped. Like with Jesse, like it's like you're supposed to be new to this house, you're new to the town and everything, but they're talking about him waking up screaming like it's a regular occurrence. Now, did this just start happening when you're at the house? You know what I'm saying? Like, or was this happening before?
Yeah, it has. Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
But see, like I said, I think that's part of Freddy's influence because, like, it's just from them being in the house and that being the thing that's keeping Freddy alive. Like I said, I feel like the dad is definitely being affected. Just the nonchalance. The mom, maybe she has tougher resistance because she's still questioning stuff, but the dad is so quick to roll over in front of every situation. Even with the bird, as crazy as that was, like, hey, I don't know, maybe
like he said he blamed it on the bird feed. That's going to make birds blow up in the middle of the fucking air.
And I think, like I said,
then he was like, "Yeah, Jesse, you put a M80 in him."
Like I said,
how did he do that?
I think that was Freddy's influence, and I think that may be part of what Freddy's leaning into with the parents, just to help him do what he needs to do.
And on that note, we keep talking about Freddy, so let's talk about Freddy. In this one, he is significantly different across the board from what we got in the first installment. Not only with him, being this entity and what he's doing with Jesse, but like it was established in the first one that he likes to torture and mess with his victims, almost like a cat with a mouse. He enjoys
because
killing.
That's part of his thing. Fear is what fuels him more than anything.
He enjoys killing. He enjoys catching his body. So for them to take this approach to have him almost kind of like pass the buck to someone else and do his bidding, that was different. Just in itself, inventive, and I appreciate the approach because, like you said, without part 2, there wouldn't be a part 3, and so on and so forth.
But that's always been kind of Freddy's essence of his being.
Yes.
The more he can cause fear, the stronger he's going to be.
Right. And another thing that stood out to me, I like the look of him. In this one, he had a significantly different look. He looked more like almost honestly, like a witch.
His face, like I mentioned earlier, when he's standing in front of fire, he looks the best. He's probably the best looking Freddy I've seen in the series, bro.
It's kind of like and you see crazy, this when you watch this documentary. They really tapped more into because they did switch makeup artists, and the new artist, like he wanted to go more with the focus on the burn victim side of things. He did look more human in a sense, like as if he were to just get out of a fire. But one thing that really stood out to me, I feel
like the personality also of him translated better, which kind of sucks because he's not in this movie a whole lot.
He's not. But one thing that I noticed, one thing that is monumental, like with Michael Myers to the mask, with Jason to the mask, Freddy to the glove, and in this one, Freddy doesn't really wear the glove. He only wears it for the first 3 times we see him when he's driving the bus, the first 2 times that he sees Jesse, and then he kind of convinces Jesse, put the glove on, try it on, and that's when you see that he's kind of fully possessing Jesse, you know. But I did like the fact that he still had his claws. It was his regular hand, but the claws kind of coming out almost like Wolverine. And I thought that was really cool. That was a cool approach, a cool take to show that, you know, the glove is a part of Freddy, not the other way around. You see what I'm saying?
They're jumping back and forth to meet, you know, demands of the scene.
And
I like that.
And it kind of like, you know, when you see Freddy and he's like in a mirror image or whatever, you know, he's still got the knives and stuff, but it's just his regular hand. And then it'll transition into Jesse and you see him, but he's actually wearing the glove. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was a cool segue from the first one into this one, because it shows the mother actually kept the glove in the furnace in the basement of the house, and that's where Jesse finds it in the second one. So it, you know, for them to not really correlate the 2 films together, they still made them cohesive enough to make it all make sense. You know what I mean? And
it's not gonna hold up under scrutiny, but it's loose enough to, you know, just to kind of, you know, justify, you know, some of the elements of what's going on here.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, I mean, you know, for Freddy to not get that much screen time, the little bit that he got, his presence was felt. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he looked scary. And because of the approach of the story arc, he kind of like, it was a different feeling. When I saw Freddy in this film versus the first one, like in the first one, you're like, okay, well, as long as I don't go to sleep, I don't have to deal with him. In this one, you weren't safe whether you were asleep or not.
Shout out to the other kids in this movie who look like young adults who probably should be working at the bank, not in high school. Like, they all super seniors, dog. That's crazy to me, man.
I thought there was an age limit. You can't be in high school after 21, I thought. All these guys, they getting out of school and going to the liquor store.
I mean, if we're talking about the first 3 films, I'm probably going to put this at the bottom of that ranking.
Yes.
But it is significant because it, like I said, it establishes the franchise, man. This was a hit, man. This made more money than the previous film.
It was.
And it let New Line know that they can, instead of distributing other films, that they can make their own films and put them out and be profitable. Like I said, this became the film that built New Line Cinema into the film giant that it became, you know what I'm saying, in that era, you know?
They did this without Wes Craven's support or his blessings. I mean, he sold the rights in the first one. Like, I mean, pretty much Wes Craven and New Line Cinema bet the house on that film, and then New Line Cinema realized that they had something smoking. And you know, it's a wise thing when you know that you got something hot, you serve it to the public. I mean, this one came out a little under a year after the first one dropped. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they got, like I said, they've got a legacy of just things that were just over the years, man. You know, that because of this, it allowed them to be made. Like, we don't get the Ninja Turtles 1990 movie, you know what I'm saying, without this going on.
I mean, well, with this film, it had a $3 million budget and they turned back 30 mil. So, I mean, they like I said, in the first one, they got back what they spent with a little bit of sprinkles, enough to make this movie. This one, they actually turned a profit and they realized what they really had. And then the third one is what really just broke the mold and made Freddy a household name.
Yeah, I just want to give y'all just what the impact of this film enabled them to do. It enabled them to do Critters, Nightmare 3. They did Hairspray, you know what I'm saying? But the classic, you know, I think it's that the Ricky Lake version that everybody loves. Ton of stuff. Decline of Western Civilization, man. That was a crazy mockumentary, you know what I'm saying? It's tougher than leather, bro. Run DMC, man. These guys have had their hands on a lot of stuff. 976 Evil, No Holds Barred, man. You know what I'm saying? They did Bar the movie in 89. I remember watching that on HBO, bro. Like, but Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 3, like The Blood of Heroes, bro. That's a New Line Cinema.
That's a great one. I
House
like that
Party,
one.
New Line Cinema, dude. Like this. These guys are significant film company, man. It's crazy, dude. Like, you go into the King of New York, man. Like, I could go on, man, finding things that they did, but it's amazing, man. And it's all because of Freddy Krueger.
Yes, and another thing that I do like about this film is, you know, one thing that you can expect with watching any Nightmare on Elm Street film is the special effects will be top notch. You know what I'm saying? And this is all, you know, pre CGs and everything. And even with this one, like the reason why the effects are so good is that even though they switched writers, they switched directors, like people switched draws, they never really switched the core group of the special effects people. You know what I'm saying? It's the same ones. And you kind of get used to what you're doing when it comes to this character, and they were, you know, with each film they got more inventive, more creative. Like with this one, when you see the transformation scene, it's so cool because I mean, you see Jesse's hands start to turn into the glove, and you see the sweater kind of coming through his skin. But then when he backs up against the wall, he opens his mouth, and you see Freddy's eye in his throat. I never saw nothing like that before. You know what I'm saying? And then when Freddy kind of like busts out of his chest, like cuts through and just busts out, and like I said, he sheds him like a snake shedding old skin. It was really cool, and you know. Even though, you know, some of the characters, like I said, were undeveloped in the story, kind of, you know, plot holes and this, that, you knew at that point that Freddy fully manifested into his natural self through Jesse at that point. You know what I mean? Like there was no confusion in that Jesse now is Freddy and vice versa. And now Freddy's about to wreak havoc in the real world, which he does in the pool scene. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of, even though it goes against the rules that were set in the first one, it made it all make sense. You know what I'm saying? And with good effects and you know, what we've seen translate on screen, that's how it made it all possible.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately this is definitely a significant entry into the series, man. We don't get the rest of the stuff without them nailing this and bringing in the money, man. You know what I'm saying? And I guess in conclusion, to wrap this up, I definitely would encourage you to check out the documentaries Never Sleep Again, which is available on Tubi, and also Scream Queens, which is also available on Tubi. And I think most of this series is available right now on HBO Max if you want to do a Freddy Krueger rewatch. You know, that's how I ended up watching it for, you know, this show that we did today. But yeah, man, he's that dude, man. Definitely significant, you know, and it's great to be able to just have these films still around and see what they've inspired and see the impact that they've had overall on film, you know.
And the cool thing about it is they still hold up to this day. You know, for this to be, you know, just another installment in a very lengthy franchise, each film brings something individualized to the franchise. You know what I'm saying? This one had its moment, like the first, like the third, like the last. And, you know, I feel like, you know, it's important to see all of them for what they are and what they bring to the franchise to ultimately create one of the most notable slashers in the horror genre. You see what I'm saying? Like, each film is important. It is all, you know, a certain ingredient into the grand scheme of things. And this one, I mean, like I said, if I had to rank them, I would go first, third, second, and then continue on. I really like the last installment, what was it, the New Nightmare or whatever, because that was Wes Craven getting back into the writer-director chair. But ultimately, you know, I feel like, you know, this one is just, like you said, it's just as significant, just as important to the whole franchise, man. And I really enjoyed my rewatches with this. Even though you didn't get as much Freddy interaction, it's still, the way that it was delivered made it all make sense. You know what I mean? And just made me want to watch the third one that much more. You know what I mean? So...
yeah, folks, but I think that's it. We can wrap this up, man. You catch us at Classes of Cinematics on Instagram. If you made it this far, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you know when we drop the new episodes, man. Also, click below for the links to the merch so you can help support us that way. And you can catch us at Classes of Cinematics on Instagram, if I didn't already say that. My brain's acting crazy these days. I think I got memory loss from COVID.
Ah, shit.
Or maybe a CTE. I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
I remember I'm Bobby Blockbuster, and you can't catch me on no social nothings. You can catch me on the next show.
Yeah, you catch me on Monkey Blood at Twitter, Instagram, man. We're out of here, folks, man. Happy Halloween.
Yes, yes. Boo hoo.
Boo.